I would have thought that Diddy would be throwing all his celebrity mates under the bus.
I mean, that could potentially be coming when it's time for court and when it's time for him to testify. But what we're seeing right now is how important public relations really are to Shawn Combs. He's desperately trying to control the narrative behind bars, allowing his attorneys to do documentary.
Today, in a New York federal courtroom, Shawn Diddy Combs told the judge he was, quote, a little nervous. The Rat Mogul's criminal trial began this morning. He is trafficking, racketeering, and more.
The courtroom crackled with tension, and not just because of the high-profile nature of the trial. Shawn Diddy Combs, once an unshakable titan of the music industry, now sat under the harsh glare of legal scrutiny, facing allegations so sensational they felt pulled straight from the pages of a Hollywood screenplay. But it wasn't the charges alone that had everyone on edge. What truly set the room ablaze was the unexpected appearance of a surprising figure, one that rattled even Diddy himself. Ben Chew. Yes, that Ben Chew, the sharp-witted legal architect behind Johnny Depp's headline-dominating victory over Amber Heard. But this time, Chew hadn't arrived to argue a case. He was there as a specialist, an expert on jury selection. Still, his mere presence...
The defense wanted to propose a question on, after the potential jurors filled out their questionnaire, have they seen any news media, any documentaries, anything just relating to a news medium, and whether or not they saw it in between them filling out the questionnaire to Monday morning when they saw, or when they go to jury selection. So essentially...
Let's rewind for a moment. Picture being Diddy, a man who, for decades, embodied luxury, power, and untouchable success. He didn't just dominate the music industry, he defined it. An empire builder, a cultural icon, a walking myth. But now he sat behind a defense table, stripped of the flash and bravado, his once commanding presence dimmed by graying hair and a visibly frayed demeanor. The man who once proudly proclaimed himself bad boy for life looked more like a man, fighting for his life. Not as lead counsel, not even as a vocal presence, just a consultant. But his reputation thundered louder than any courtroom outburst. The architect of Johnny Depp's stunning legal victory, Chew had become a symbol of legal dominance. His arrival wasn't just a blow, it was psychological warfare. This wasn't about a fair fight. It was about dismantling Diddy piece by piece, starting with his most precious weapon, his confidence. Insiders say the atmosphere detonated the moment Chew's involvement was confirmed. Behind closed doors, Diddy was reportedly livid, pacing the room, shouting, slamming his fist into the table. Sources say he accused the judge of setting him up, of turning the courtroom into a stage where he was doomed to lose before the trial even began.
Which again, the judge kind of made this a point too, talking about, okay, well, if we're going to continue to do sidebars each and every single time that a prospective juror has to talk about a sensitive topic, that could take up a lot of time. But again, the defense and the government both seem pretty confident that they'll still be able to kind of get it going in a quick pace. This isn't unusual to do in these types of high profile cases. So that was pretty much just the topics about, Ghislaine Maxwell.
And let's not lose sight of what's really at stake here. This isn't some messy tabloid divorce or a slap on the wrist civil suit. This is a federal trial, dead serious, with allegations so explosive, they don't just threaten Diddy's career, they threaten to erase his legacy entirely. The prosecution knows exactly what they're dealing with, and their decision to bring in Ben Chew, that was all the proof anyone needed that they weren't just playing to win. They were playing to bury him. Chew's role may have been limited to jury selection, but make no mistake, his name alone sent shockwaves. It was a signal, a loud, deliberate message that the prosecution understood the game on a master level. They weren't just building a case, they were staging a war. According to courtroom whispers, Diddy's legal team had no clue Chew would be involved. The judges moved to consult him, allegedly kept under lock and key until the 11th hour, When it was finally revealed, it hit the defense like a gut punch. One insider described the aftermath as pure pandemonium. Attorneys scrambling, tempers flaring, strategy boards flipped upside down for someone like Diddy, who built an empire on controlling narratives, on being the architect of every story told about him. This wasn't just a disruption, it was devastation, the ultimate loss of control.
Defense kind of pointed out that they will be adding 2 defense attorneys. We only thought initially it was 1, but one thing that stood out to me when Mark Agnifilo was talking about this was he said that these defense attorneys are in the courtroom right now. I didn't see Mark Garagos in that courtroom, but what I did see is 2 defense attorneys that have been there when Brian came on board, and those 2 defense attorneys.
And speaking of optics, let's talk about the jury selection, because that wasn't just a procedural step. It was a full-on battlefield. More than 600 potential jurors were summoned, each one subjected to intense questioning about their biases, media habits, and personal views on Diddy. The mission: to find 12 people capable of sitting through weeks of graphic testimony and damning evidence without letting their emotions hijack their judgment. But here's the problem. How do you find impartial jurors when the man on trial is one of the most recognizable and polarizing figures in modern entertainment? It's not just about avoiding people who've seen the infamous 2016 hotel video or read the salacious headlines. It's about identifying people who have seen them and still claim they can set it all aside. He wasn't just there to break down the legal mechanics of jury selection. He was there to manipulate the psychology of it, to read between the lines. He spoke about micro-expressions, subconscious body language, and the invisible biases